You're listening to Menopause Natural Solutions, episode 56, Hot Flush Relief. Welcome to Menopause Natural Solutions, your podcast for all things perimenopause and menopause related. Stay tuned as naturopath Jennifer Harrington explains how to use natural therapies to transform your health and happiness. Hi there, and welcome if you're a new listener. It's so amazing to see so many new listeners tuning in each week from all around the world. So if you're one of those, welcome. And if you have been enjoying the show, please do leave me a rating and a review because it helps more women find the show. So today we're going to be talking about hot flush relief, or maybe you call them hot flashes, or maybe you call them power surges. But today I'm going to give you tips and tricks to help minimize the chances of having a hot flush at a special event. So it might be a work function, it may be a wedding, it may be a date. I'm going to talk to you about little things that you can do to help minimize the risk of this occurring. The first thing you need to take into account is, what are you wearing? Generally, we want to have an outfit that we can layer up and layer down to help you regulate your temperature. But I also want you to consider the fabric that you're wearing. There are certain clothing ranges these days that specialise in clothing for menopausal women. Clothing that's breathable and that lets you cool down and that dries quickly if you have been sweating. Some examples of these include cucumber clothing, Become, or Attune women's wear. The next thing to consider is your makeup. It's a really good idea to use a primer underneath to help keep your foundation off if you do sweat. I also recommend you use waterproof eyeliner or mascara to avoid nasty black smudges down your face. Do you wear perfume? I don't recommend perfume these days because of the amount of nasty chemicals in them. Why don't you consider wearing essential oils instead? There are many reputable essential oil companies that sell hot flush or menopausal blends, and these have the added benefit of smelling nice and reducing your symptoms of menopause at the same time. Now, most of these blends are based around clary sage. So you might want to try that one on its own, or you might want to try one of the blends. My next bit of advice is to get ready well before the event. Sometimes styling your hair, having hot flushes, all contributes to heat, and we really don't want you feeling hot at this time. You may prefer to have a cooler shower or to really get ready early so that you have plenty of time to relax and cool down afterwards. Stress is one of the biggest triggers for hot flushes. So I really recommend that you know what you're doing. You know where you're going. You know where you're parking. If it's a work event, that you're well prepared for the event. You have the resources, your computer, the chargers, everything packed and ready to go well beforehand. If it's an event where you can actually choose where you're going to sit, then it is another benefit to get there really early so you can check the place out. Maybe there's a better ventilated window or a less stuffy part of the room in which you can sit. If you do get there early, it's a good opportunity to practice breathing. And I know in a previous episode I've discussed paced respiration, and that is counting to 5 on the inhalation and counting to 5 on the exhalation. It's making sure that you're breathing slowly and you're breathing deeply. So this is something that you can do in public. Nobody knows that you're counting your breath. Or if you're more worried, you can actually go and lock yourself into a bathroom and have a couple of deep breaths before you attend the event. Now, when we look at what you can order, everybody has personal triggers. And there are some common triggers that tend to cause most women to flush. So I'm going to talk about some of these. If you are out at a special dinner, say it's a wedding or an anniversary, or even a date, the most common drinks to order are coffee and alcohol. And both of these promote the sensation of flushing. So what else could you order? There are certain herbal teas that are actually beneficial during menopause. And these include, but aren't limited to, sage, chamomile, green tea, fennel. Some women find any hot drink causes them to trigger. And if that is you, then maybe have a look at having the iced version of tea. Or maybe you just want to go a glass of water, which you can dress up and put some fruit in there. If you really want to have an alcoholic beverage, hopefully you've already determined in the past which forms of alcohol trigger you more than others. And the most common alcohol that promotes flushes is red wine. But some women know they can tolerate white spirits. So please don't take this as me giving you permission to go out and get drunk. That's not the scenario. But if it is a special event, if you are out at a wedding or a date or an anniversary, you probably might want to have a special drink on the day, and think about what that's going to be. So if you can get through the night unfazed with a vodka, lime and soda, then that's going to be a better option than having a glass of wine or a glass of red wine with dinner and being a sweaty mess. Something else to consider is all forms of sugar can be problematic and are in the top triggers list. So when we're thinking about drinks, there's all your soft drinks or soda or pop, depending on what you call it in your part of the world. That's also your juices. Something to think about. Water is always a safe bet, but hopefully I've given you some other ideas so that you can brainstorm what you want to do at your special event. When it comes to food, it's always a really good idea to see if there's something that contains protein on the menu. It can be fish, it can be eggs, it can be nuts, it can be seeds, but protein helps balance out blood sugar levels. And as I mentioned before, issues with sugar, such as imbalanced blood sugar levels, promotes hot flushes. It can also promote anxiety, which is the last thing you're going to want if you're at a work event or a special occasion. So avoiding high sugars means no desserts either. I'm really sorry. Unless it's like a really small, nice fruit salad, then the little bit of sugar in fruit you can probably tolerate if it's just a couple of strawberries or a couple of blueberries or something. When we're looking for a balanced meal that is not likely to spike hot flushes, I want you to consider, for example, maybe a chicken salad. Or maybe you like steamed fish and vegetables. It's something that has good fats, good proteins, and carbohydrates in the forms of vegetables, salads, or a small amount of fruit. I hope that helps. When we're looking at the other triggers that tend to cause problems in a lot of women, and we can't go past spicy foods. So if you know having your favorite curry is going to make you hot and sweaty, then save that for a different night. Tonight, out at your special event, we want to make sure that we set you up for success. So remove spicy foods from the menu. A lot of women also find that gluten and dairy are a problem, so it's worth seeing if there are gluten or dairy-free options available. And if you have any individual food sensitivities, I certainly do recommend avoiding them at these times too, because the last thing we want to do is also trigger a digestive emergency. So be mindful there. Guys, I hope you found some of those hints and tricks helpful, and I hope that you have lots of wonderful events where you know that you can go to. You may have to restrict yourself on that night, but it's not permanent, it's not forever, but it minimizes your embarrassment on the night. It minimizes the heat and the sweating, and you can actually enjoy yourself instead. That's it from me tonight. But before I go, I wanted to let you know I loved doing the webinar series earlier this year. So I've decided to do another one in August. So I'm going to have 2 online workshops called Menopause Makeover. And I'm doing it twice because I've noticed that my audience is worldwide. And there is no one time zone or one time that suits everyone. So it's the same workshop on at 2 different times so that hopefully you can find the time zone or the time slot that works best for you. And this is a free event. So it's an hour that you get to spend with myself talking about lifestyle, diet, environment changes. Simple and easy things you can do to transform your transition. Have a wonderful week. I cannot wait to talk again next week. Bye for now. Thank you for listening to Menopause Natural Solution. This podcast contains general information about menopause. It is provided as a guide and is not intended to replace medical advice. Opinions of guests of their own, and this podcast does not endorse or accept responsibility for statements made by guests.